بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and passing salutation upon His Messenger Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, we start straight away with what we have left it 2 weeks ago. Last week there was a special class for one of the shuyukh. So let's just start with what we left it last time. In our debate, or Qissat al-Tahkim, that is the dispute regarding the building of the house. We have discussed, alhamdulillah, already before, that is the building of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail to the Kaaba. Yes? And we have talked about it, and we've given you the hadith, and we talked about the Zamzam and all of that. And we know that Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu had asked the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, said, which is the first masjid was put on the earth? First masjid, that is a place for worship. He said al-Masjid al-Haram. Then he said, then what? Then which masjid? So the Prophet said the Masjid al-Aqsa. That is the Aqsa, the Iliya Masjid, which is in Jerusalem, Masjid al-Aqsa. So he said, how many years in between them? Prophet answered, 40 years. So just like we say that brothers and sisters, you are keen to make sure that the Bayt al-Haram is a bayt for the Muslims, liberated, and only for the Muslims. We should be keen as well to make sure that the Masjid al-Aqsa as well, liberated and belongs to the Muslims, because Masjid al-Aqsa is for the Muslims. And it will be until the day of resurrection, inshallah, for the Masjid for the Muslims, because the ones who are governing such area, they should be the Muslims, because they are the ones who are salihun, the ones who would let people to practice their own religion, not to impose sanctions or restrictions upon a person. If he's 45 plus, then he is able to pray. But if he's less than 45, he's not able to pray. What rule is this? It's not justice. And this is what is happening in Palestine. That is 40, 45, 55, could pray in the masjid. If you are as young, he's not allowed to pray in the masjid also. Now, there is what happened when the Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Ismail built the Kaaba. They built it a bigger size than we see at the moment. That hijr, that hatim, was included. Now that hijr is not really something which is little, it's about a third. So that third is included. So what is the story behind that third? Why is not being at the moment rebuilt according to what Ibrahim had built it? So the Kaaba, let's say, imagine this is the table at the moment, is the Kaaba at the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and up to my laptop is actually the actual building now. So after the laptop, and this section is a little wall, which is like a circle, semicircle, sorry. And people, they could go inside and pray. When you pray inside, it's like you're praying in Kaaba. So the Kaaba has 4 corners. That corner, and that corner, and that corner, and that corner. But now, it's got 2 corners. And these corners are not the original corners. They are not the original corners. So the corners will be those. And that is why, at the moment, we only touch which corner? That is the Rukn al-Yaman and Hajar al-Aswad. They call it the Rukn al-Yamaniyan. That is the ones who are facing Yemen. So there's the one corner and the second corner. We don't touch these corners because they're not original corners. So the Kaaba was built up to here, then we would be able to touch what? That corner, al-Rukn al-Shami and al-Rukn al-Shami. We call it Rukn al-Shami, Rukn al-Iraqi, but there are Ruknani Shamiyan, al-Rukn al-Shami or Rukn al-Shami. We will be touching them, but we can't touch them at the moment because they're not the original what? Corners, that's why. Now what happened? Why is that? That's what we're going to be discussing, inshallah. So go ahead.
Page 34. Dispute over the black stone. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 35 years old, a devastating flood damaged the Kaaba. The walls of the Kaaba had been weakened by a fire earlier, and the flood caused additional cracks to form. The structure revered by the Quraysh was in danger of collapse.
Right. Just before I go ahead, now this is in history and it's been as well close to the haqq, to the truth, that there was a flood, which is more emphasized than the fire. But whether this or that, something had happened that the Kaaba was demolished, was put to earth. Whether due to the crack of the fire and then added to it the flood, but there was a flood. So there was a flood because of the rain. Right, now the Kaaba was down. Go ahead.
Seeing their house of worship under threat of ruin, the Quraysh decided to rebuild the Kaaba. They resolved not to taint the project with resources gained through usury, prostitution, and larceny.
Now, that is in history. We can't really support that. Whether this is true or not, is being built. So we can't really guarantee that every single dust or every single dirt or every single concrete or every single stone wasn't out of, for example, usury or prostitution or whatever. We can't guarantee that. It's a Kaaba. So you don't think it has to be in every single dust in it has to be halal. You can't say that. But it's Kaaba. Go ahead.
As the walls of the Kaaba had to be torn down before they could be rebuilt, the Quraysh feared Allah would punish anyone who raised his hand against their sacred house. Walid bin Mughira was the first to approach the Kaaba, declaring, Allah will not destroy reformers. He began to dismantle the walls of the Kaaba. When others saw that he had done so untouched by the divine wrath, they joined in the work.
Right, we can't really as well support such as, if you just order that, underline it, put it in a bracket, we can't really support that into chains of the hadith. So it's just, basically it's just for your own, entertainment, really, to read it. But nothing really authentic about it. So you just read it as a history.
They demolished the Kaaba down to the original foundation laid by Ibrahim.
That is true. They have really started from the foundation of Qawa'id Ibrahim, foundation of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now,
then the construction started with each tribe being allotted specific duties. The nobles among them carried pieces of stone and piled them up in one place. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his uncle Abbas radiallahu anhu were among those carrying stones.
So this is before the revelation. And he said when he was 35. That means how many years before the revelation? 5 years. We have difference of opinion, but this is very authentic, or more authentic. That is 5 years before revelation. This is taking place. 5 years ago. So the Prophet of Allah is participating with his uncle to rebuild the Kaaba. Now,
a Roman mason named Baqum reconstructed the walls.
Now all of that in the brackets, we don't really know. It's as I said, it's not being supported by a chain of ahadith. Now,
however, the tribes were unable to collect enough money to rebuild the Kaaba completely, so a small wall was built showing the boundaries of the original foundation laid by Ibrahim alayhi salam. This small wall enclosed an area of about 6 cubits on the northern side of the Kaaba and is called Hijr Ismail.
Okay, now you stop. Before it sounded like you stopped the sentence, but now this is a full sentence, meaning that that there was not enough money in order to build the whole Kaaba, the big size, like this table was all, he said. They had to build 2/3 of it and leave that last third, which is, they call it now Al-Hijr or Al-Hatim or Al-Hashim. People call it Hijr Ismail, it's wrong. They call it Al-Hijr or Hashim or Al-Hatim. Al-Hijr means the restricted area. Hashim or Hashim with a H. Hashim or Hatim means the destroyed. That means that destroyed part, it became as it is. They did not really rebuild it. They just built a small wall. It's like a small fence, like a semicircle. And that is true. So they have left it because they didn't have enough money to build it. Now,
when the wall was completed up to the spot where the black stone, Al-Hajar al-Aswad, was located.
Al-Hajar al-Aswad, which is the black stone, this is the stone which is from paradise. Allah sent it, as we said before, from paradise, white. And what made it black and dark is the sins and the polytheism, the shirk of the kuffar, of people of Quraysh. They made it black. Now this is the black stone, is well known to the people. And this is you could say, the main stone of the whole building. Go ahead.
When the wall was completed up to the spot where the black stone was located, a dispute arose.
Which is true. Now,
each chief claimed the honor of putting the black stone in place. The crisis continued for 4 or 5 days and bloodshed was imminent.
Right. For 4 or 5 days we don't know, but there was a dispute. And a big dispute. Who's going to put the black stone? It's an honor which branch of the tribe of Quraysh. Which branch? Is it the Hashemite? Is it Banu Udadi or whatever? Are they going to want the ones who are going to be putting the black stone?
At that time, Abu Umayyah, the oldest among them, found a solution to the problem. He suggested that the next man who entered the gate of the Kaaba should be given the authority to settle the dispute.
We don't know if it's Abu Umayyah or not, but we know for a fact that there was a suggestion that the person who enters, and they have located the gate of Banu Shayba, the gate of Banu Shayba. The one who enters from the gate of Banu Shayba in Kaaba has got a number of gates. The gate of Banu Shayba still until today exists, Banu Shayba. The one who entered from the Banu Shayba gates, which leads to the black stone, is the one who would settle the dispute, who is going to be putting the black stone in its place. Now,
everyone agreed to this suggestion, and it was the will of Allah that the next man to enter the gate was Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
So the Prophet of Allah is the one who had entered from that gate. Now,
it's Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they said as soon as they saw him coming. Since he is trustworthy, we all agreed to abide by his decision.
That's what they said. They said he is the trustworthy, and we will be pleased with his decision. Now,
when Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam learned the details of the dispute, he asked them to bring a sheet. He then took the black stone and placing it on the sheet, asked...
That means in the middle of the sheet. Place it in the middle of the sheet. Now,
asked each clan to take hold of an edge of the sheet.
So each end of the sheet, okay, edge, they will hold on to it. So each tribe will hold from one side of that sheet. It's a powerful sheet. Now,
and lift it in unison.
And you lift it at the same time. Now,
when the black stone was lifted up by the tribal chiefs, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam pushed it into the place with his own hands.
Okay, so the Prophet, he is the one who put it with his own hands in its location, but everybody had what? Held it. So which is a very justified solution.
Everyone was satisfied with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam's decision, and a great conflict was averted. The black stone rests about 1.5 meters above the ground,
which we could see it at the moment, same thing now.
With the Kaaba door about 0.5 meter above the black stone.
0.5 meter? 2 meters. 2 meters, not 0.5 meter.
Above the black stone.
Above the black stone. So it's 2 meters from the ground, yes. Okay, it's about 2 meters from the ground. The black stone, the door is about 2 meters. Now when you go underneath it, it's higher than you are. That's the gate of the Kaaba. Now,
the Quraysh did not lower the position of the door because they did not want anyone to enter the Kaaba without their permission. They also
so they made this deliberate. That is to put the Kaaba, which leads to inside the Kaaba, which they call it the very holy place inside. So that gate, for people to see what is inside the Kaaba, they made it up 2 meters. And they have got a special ladder. Every person who wants him, they want him to come. Like for example, as a delegate or a person who's highly positioned, they come to visit the Kaaba, they will let him in, they bring the ladder. As they didn't want to put it on the earth so that anybody can come in. And it's still at that position. Go ahead.
They also doubled the height of the walls from 9 to 18 cubits. Added a roof 15 cubits in height.
Now at the moment it's higher than that. The Kaaba was being as well lifted up about less than 10 years ago. Now.
And 6 pillars in 2 rows inside the Kaaba to support it.
6 pillars in order to support it, and then finished? Okay. Well, and before it was not having a roof. Now it's got a roof. So they made a roof for it. Right. Now, just to make sure that you understand that the Prophet ﷺ was asked by Aisha radiallahu anha, that is about the semicircle, which is the hijr. So she said to him, is it from the house? Is it part of the Kaaba, the cube? She said, the Prophet said, yes. So why didn't he, they may include it. They may want to have, they've completed the building. So the Prophet said, well, your family, your tribe, which is Quraysh, his strong tribe as well, they didn't have enough money to do it. She said, what about the door? Why is it being up? Why is it being built up so the people can't really enter with ease? He said to her, well, verily your people, because she was young and she did not really see this scene, your people wanted to make it up so that they could make people whom they want to enter, not anybody. And had it been that your people close to ignorism, paganism, I would have, what I've done, I would have rebuilt the Kaaba and made the door stuck to the ground. And I would make it even two doors, one to come in and to get out. And I would have included the wall, the hijr is where? Into the house to make it one part. And if you remember, we discussed the building of the Kaaba. We said the Kaaba was rebuilt at that time in which era? It was rebuilt like this. Before that, who had made the hijr inside? It's not Abdullah ibn, yes, mashallah, is here? Abdullah ibn Zubayr, very good memory. Abdullah ibn Zubayr, he is the one, the mayor of Mecca. He had included the hijr inside. And who did bring it back as it is? Hajjaj. Did he bring it back because he wanted to oppose the Prophet of Allah? No, he thought, this is the correct one. So this is the correct way. He didn't know if it was the Prophet, he would have done kufr, but he doesn't know. He thought Al-Hajjaj made a bid'ah. Sorry, he thought the Abdullah ibn Zubayr made a bid'ah. And that's why he used to call him a hypocrite. Al-Hajjaj used to call Abdullah ibn Zubayr as a hypocrite. One of the hypocrites. So that he made this Kaaba like this way. But if he knew the Prophet of Allah had said that, he would have never rebuilt the Kaaba as it is at the moment. So, coming back, also the Prophet ﷺ, we have an incident where he was taking the stones, him and his uncle, to build the Kaaba. Al-Abbas, his uncle, he said to him one day, why don't you put your izar, which is the garment, you know they put izar like around your waist. Underneath it there is nothing. Why don't you make your izar hooked into your neck? So you lift it up, hook it to your neck so you could put what? The stones in it. And if he does that, what happens to his awrah? Well, he'll be exposed. As soon as he put it on, and his awrah was shown, and this is the only time that his awrah was shown, the Prophet ﷺ, this is before Revelation, he fell down on his back with his eyes staring to the heavens. Allah did not want him to what? To continue holding the stones while he's showing his awrah, and that's authentic, by the way. So, Abbas, he told him, because he wanted to make it easy for his nephew, that is to put the garment, his izar, around his neck from the back to tie it up, so he could put the stones in them when he is carrying the stones in order to rebuild the Kaaba. But as soon as he'd done that, he straight away he fell on the ground and his eyes were staring on the heavens, on the horizon, and then he said, my garment, and the garment was being brought back to him. That means we've been put to cover the awrah. And this is the only time when the Prophet's awrah was exposed to anybody. As for his wives, of course, his wives, but I'm talking about for other people. Right, coming back to the title, which is Siratuhu Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now,
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's character before prophethood. From childhood, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was exceptionally intelligent and chaste, and was highly regarded for his
honesty. He was intelligent
honesty.
And he was chaste. Intelligent and chaste, which is known. Now.
And he was highly regarded for his honesty, valor, justice, piety, patience, modesty, loyalty, and hospitality.
As Allah says in the Quran, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You are upon a high character. If Allah testifies to this, what can we say regarding that? Allah Azza wa Jal, He put him on a high character. So we have discussed that before, I think, at the beginning of we talked about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his character and his description as well. Now,
Abu Talib described his beloved nephew in the following words. He is fair and handsome. From his face, mercy falls like rain. He is a shelter for the orphan and the protector of widows.
Now,
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam maintained good relations with his family, bore others' burdens, and guided the destitute towards self-sufficiency. In keeping with his future role as Allah's messenger, one who was to outlaw all aspects of idolatry and polytheism, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had an inherent hatred for the prevailing paganism of his time. Thus, although he was an integral part of his society, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam never attended any of the important local festivals and fairs that revolved around idol worship and drinking.
Which has happened to not just to the Prophet ﷺ, all those who call themselves Ahnaf. Ahnaf, monotheistic. Can anybody tell me a person who was monotheistic that we have discussed him? Yalla Abd Qadir? Waraqat ibn Nawf. Another person that we discussed? Zayd ibn Nawfal. Another person that we discussed? Well, we did not discuss it, but the man first is good, mashallah. But he was a fire worshipper, didn't he? So he worshipped the fire. Talking about people did not worship anything but from Allah Azza wa Jalla from the beginning. Waraqat ibn Nawfal, Zayd ibn Nawfal, Zayd, and also we discussed Bahir al-Rahib. Yes, discuss that person as well. Those are called, and even Abu Dhar, radiallahu anhu, he did not as well worship except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they didn't really like to go to the idols and know these rituals and eat from that whatever has been slaughtered for other than Allah. They don't eat from that. Go ahead.
He was also careful not to eat the flesh of any animal slaughtered in the name of someone other than Allah, and avoided touching or even coming close to idols.
Yes, he had said that to one of the companions who was with him. It was turned to be a companion later on. When he was about to touch one of the lad, he said, "Don't touch it." He told him not to touch it. This is not really right. And we're going to discuss that inshallah when we come to his biography. Now,
he especially detested hearing oaths sworn upon the pagans.
That means he had left all of that oath, making an oath by Allah, by Al-Uzza, by all of that. Now, all
the two most famous idols, Lat and Uzza.
No, not Lat, Al-Lat.
Lat.
No.
And
he was too far away from as well, doesn't say that? And he was as well as far as he can from drinking alcohol and witnessing any festival at Scott, all of these sinnings, like drinking alcohol and womenizing and all of that. He was far away from it. Right, now we're coming to An-Nubuwwah, yes?
The prelude to the Prophethood.
Yeah, prelude to the Prophethood, yes, go ahead.
Prelude to Prophethood. With his aversion to some of the most cohesive social ties in Meccan society, it was inevitable that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would grow apart from his fellow Meccans and their depraved way of life, and included public drunkenness, and female infanticide.
No.
He began to long for solitude and preferred to spend his time alone, away from the noisy festivals and crowded markets.
No.
At the same time, he felt the need to save his people from the destruction he felt was imminent. His discontent grew, and he began to seek refuge in the cave of Hira.
Hira. And Hira is the name of a mountain which is known at the moment, is known as to be Jabal al-Nur, they call it. Jabal al-Nur. So, is it
There's a
there?
note on it.
Yeah.
That it is located about 2 miles from Kaaba, and its peak is visible from a distance. The cave is a little less than 4 meters in length and a little more than 1.5 meters in width.
Right. So no, it didn't say. I would say that there's a note, but it didn't say. It doesn't say Nur. I thought he was going to say it.
I mean,
Yeah. I thought you don't know about the Nur. Right. The cave of Hira is at the moment in the Jabal. It's called Jabal al-Nur, the mountain of Nur, which is, like he said, is about 2 miles from Mecca. Now, it is not from the Sunnah whatsoever. It's actually a bid'ah to go to that cave where the Prophet ﷺ was meditating before receiving the revelation. It is not whatsoever a practice that the Prophet of Allah had engaged into after he had seen the prophethood. Not something that he had encouraged his companions or his ummah to do that. So if you do it, then it's a bid'ah. And I would not even urge you to do it, even for the sake of historical sort of history. Just to go for history. No. Suppose people see you without doing that, what is the point? Because nobody would go there except that he thinks it's a religious journey, a religious climb. The people at the moment, they're doing it. They call it now religious tourism. tourism. No, brothers, you can't do that. And it's a bid'ah. We haven't seen any companions that have done it. I haven't seen any state of Islam that they would encourage people to do it. It's been actually innovated by some of those people who are thinking themselves are better than the Messenger of Allah or his companions. Because if there was something good about it, then the Prophet of Allah would have told us about it. So it's important to know this issue. That we do not go to the cave of Hira whatsoever. We know that this is a cave that the Prophet of Allah had been into it because of he wants to go away from the rituals of the kuffar, keep away as much as he can from the rituals of idolatry. That's all. And now we find that so many religions had evolved from a man who's meditating in what? In a cave. Singling himself out, isolating himself for 40 nights. The number 40 is what? 40 nights and 40 days, and he come up with a new religion. If you look at Mirza Ghulam, which is the Qadiani, it's evolved from that. A man for 40 days, he left for 40 days and he came out with the 5 Ks of his, and the people followed him. And you know, lots of religions talk about lots of religion came out from a man who had isolated himself for 40 nights, and then he came up with his a vision, or he had seen a prophet, or he had seen a God talking to him, and so on and so forth. Right. Now, before we talk about that incident, which is the Prophet ﷺ receiving his revelation inside the cave, we would like to as well, add things to the glad tidings, because there was some things that are happening as well, a glad tiding of the Prophet ﷺ. As the Messenger of Allah was asked, when was you a prophet? When were you a prophet? So the Prophet ﷺ said, I was ordained to be a prophet well before the revelation. I was ordained to be a prophet, and Adam was between the ruh and the jasad. That means between the soul and the body. So when Allah created the body of Adam with his own hands, and yet to blow into him the soul, in between that, Allah had ordained that the Muhammad is to be what? A prophet. And that's a hadith sahih. Right. And also he was asked, he said, between the creation of Adam and blowing the soul. Clear cut. And we do have as well glad tidings from all the prophets, and even we find them in the books which came from Allah Azza wa Jal, and from as well the people of knowledge for those religions. They're telling us that the Prophet of Allah ﷺ is a prophet before his revelation. So let's just hear some of these things for a number of issues. Number one, to increase the iman of the brothers who are already mu'min, and also to, as well, that is to make the people of the book, when they listen to us, the Christians especially in this country, that your books, your priests had told about the coming of the Prophet ﷺ. They know already. So this is for us, inshallah, as a da'wah. First of all, the prophets foretelling about the coming of the Prophet Muhammad, the glad tidings of the prophets. As we have discussed before, when the Prophet said, Ana bushra da'watu Ibrahim. That is, I am the outcome of the supplication of Ibrahim alayhi salam. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 129. رَبَّنَا وَابْعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِكَ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. O Lord, send amongst them a messenger from them, reciting to them your verses, and teaching them the book and the wisdom, and purify them, for verily you are the mighty, the wise. Also Isa alayhi salam had told about him in Surah As-Saff, verse number 6. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said that I am the glad tidings of Isa alayhi salam. Right. So all the prophets, they have taken the covenant with the Lord to tell their people about the coming of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is the hadith which is narrated by Ibn Abbas. He says, not a single prophet been sent by Allah the Almighty, except that Allah had taken the word from him that if Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he's sent and he's alive, that is, that he which should believe in him, the Prophet, and help him as well. And to take the mithaq upon them that if Muhammad was sent, after him, if Muhammad was sent after them, that is, he tells his people as soon as they find the Prophet of Allah to believe in him. That's a covenant upon all the prophets. As for the books itself, we find the Injil talks about the Prophet of Allah. How do we know that? In Surah Al-A'raf, verse 157, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he clearly says, that is, الذي يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل. That they find his name has been written in their Torah and the Injil, the Old Testament and the New Testament, the book of the Jews and the book of the Christians. So his name even being declared as to be Muhammad or Ahmad. As for the Prophet ﷺ, examples of the Torah and the Injil giving the glad tidings of his coming, we have a hadith of Ata ibn Yasar. He said, I have met, Ata ibn Yasar is one of the followers, came after the companions. And I met Abdullah ibn Amr al-As. Abdullah ibn Amr al-As is a well-known companion, his companion, his father is a companion as well. So I said to him, tell me about the description of the Prophet of Allah. أخبرني عن صفة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. How does he look like? That is in the Torah. How does the Prophet ﷺ look like in the Torah? So he said, verily, I'm going to tell you. He is being described in the Torah. And Abdullah ibn Amr al-As is to read the scripture. That is, he was described by some of his description in the Quran. And it says there in the Torah, Ya ayyuha nabi, O Prophet, inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadira wa hirzan lil ummiyin. That we have sent you, O Prophet of Allah, a warner and a witness and a glad tiding giver, and also a protector for those who are illiterate. And abdi wa rasuli, you are my slave and you are my messenger. سميتك المتوكل, I have named you the mutawakkil. So he's given you the names in the Torah. قال ليس بفضل ولا بغليظ, you are not to be harsh on the people, you are not to be having foul language. ولا سخام في الأسواق, to the end of the story. But they did not believe in him because of their envy that they had. Also, a Prophet of Allah ﷺ, he came to a man who was putting the scripture next to his son. He's about to die. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to the father who is really reciting the Torah, I beseech you by Allah, that do you find myself being described in your book? He was shaking his head, no. So his son, he said, while he's dying, verily we find the description, and we find as well the place you're going to come out from. So here the boy is testifying that you are the messenger of Allah, and we testify. And he said, verily I testify there is no God worthy of worship except for Allah alone, and I testify that you are his prophet. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, take away this Jewish man away from your brother. Then as soon as he died, he himself, the Prophet of Allah, took charge of putting the shrouds on him and praying upon him. Also we have Auf ibn Malik al-Ashja'i. He said that the Prophet ﷺ, one day he came out and I was with him. We entered a synagogue of the Jews in the Medina, and it was a day of celebration to them, a day of Eid. Then they did not like the way that we have entered. So he said that the Prophet ﷺ, he said to them, Ya ma'ashar al-Yahud, O Jews, show me 12 men of you, testifying that there is no God worthy of worship except for Allah alone, and I am the Prophet of Allah. And Allah Azza wa Jal, that He will take away the wrath from the Jews, at whom Allah Azza wa Jal had already been angry with them. So they were quiet, they did not reply. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, he refused. By Allah, you know that I am the Hashr, that the people will be gathered underneath my feet, next to my feet, and I am the Aqib, and I am the Nabi, I am the chosen. You have believed, you did not believe, it's up to you. And then he left. And as soon as we just left, there's a man, he came from behind us. So he said, Muhammad, stop. So the man, he said to the Jews, verily, what do you know about me, O Jews? He said, we know you, that you are a person who knows the best in the book of Allah, and you are better knowledgeable than us, and more qualified than us, and there is nobody more qualified than yourself, or than your father, or even your grandfather. So you come from a knowledgeable family. So he said, verily I testify that there is no God except for Allah Azza wa Jalla, worthy of worship, and that He is the Prophet of Allah that you find Him in the Torah. They said to him, you are a liar. And then they have refused to believe in whatever they have said at the beginning. So the Prophet ﷺ said, you have lied. Verily, your saying is not going to be accepted, that he's a liar. Because before you said that he's good, and now you say that he's not good. So we left, and we were 3. So we entered as 2, Auf ibn Malik, and the Prophet of Allah came out 3. And who is that man? Abdullah ibn Salam radiallahu anhu wa ardah, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed into him the ayah in Surah Al-Ahqaf, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Ash-Shahid, that is Abdullah ibn Salam, is a rabbi, and he testified about the Prophet ﷺ that he's a prophet, and he's got the description. Also we have from the scholars of Ahl al-Kitab, they have testified as well to the effect, to the truthfulness of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. One of them is Salman al-Farisi, which we'll discuss it when we come to the Salman al-Farisi's discussion. We say Salman al-Farisi at the end of that discussion, at the end of that story, he was with a priest, and he's from Ammuriya, and he told him that at this time you have a prophet coming out, and there's nobody who could really counsel you to go to him except that you wait for the Prophet ﷺ to come out. And this prophet is going to come in a land where there's a palm trees. And his sign will be, number one, he will eat from the gift, he will not eat from the sadaqah, the charity, and he's got a seal of prophethood underneath the blade of his shoulder. So those are the signs being given by a priest. So they know even the signs of the coming of the Prophet ﷺ. Also, we have Herakli. What's that, Herakli? Not Hercules. Hercules, maybe. Hercules, yeah. Hercules is different. Yeah. The king of Rome. When we come to each other, the story of Abu Sufyan, when he came, Sufyan, he was not a Muslim, and he asked a number of questions, after which he said, Abu Sufyan was, answering the questions, all of that. Then after that he said, verily, if what you're saying is true, then he will be ruling underneath my feet. What is underneath my feet? And he is a prophet. So from those questions, the king knew that this is a prophet. Even those questions was answered by Abu Sufyan before his Islam. But Abu Sufyan did not lie, except for a small thing which we'll come to it inshallah when we discuss that story. The people from the Ansar as well testified to that they said that they used to hear from the Jews that they're saying about the coming of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the last story I would like to narrate for this. This is Asid ibn Umar ibn Qatada. He talks about a sheikh from Banu Qurayza. Banu Qurayza is the Jews who are on the outskirts of the Medina. He said to him, how did Tha'laba ibn Sa'iyah, he was embraced Islam? He's asking him. And Usayd ibn Sa'id, and Asad ibn Ubayd, all of these, how did they embrace Islam? They were from the tribe of Hadi, and they were from the Jews of Banu Qurayza. And they were together in the paganism. And then they became their, masters in Islam. So he said, I didn't know how they embraced Islam. He said, one Jewish man from the Bilad al-Sham, he was named Ibn al-Hayban or al-Hayyiban. Ibn al-Hayban or Ibn al-Hayyiban. He came to us before Islam with years. And, he came years before Islam. So he said he came to the Medina and he stayed with us. And we did not find any person praying the 5 daily prayers. Look at that, 5 daily prayers. So they had what? People of the book, 5 daily prayers. It's been emphasized by a number of stories. Even Salman al-Farisi, when he went to the priest, he said he was praying his 5 daily prayers. So there was 5 daily. It's not like our prayer, similar to it, but 5 daily prayers. He said he was praying 5 days, but nobody can pray. And then he stayed with us. And every time we have no rain, we have a famine, a drought, so we ask him to go and make dua for us. Look at that. They were monotheistic in that sort of sense. They don't go to the grave of the Prophet to go and ask for the rain. They went to this man who is a Hayyiban because he's a righteous man, and they would say to him, go and ask your Lord to send us the rain. So he would say, no, by Allah, I will not do so until you bring out your sadaqah, your charity, and then we will, through that charity, we'll ask the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala to send us the rain. So each person would bring a sa' for handful or 2 handfuls, and would bring it as a sadaqah, and then he will come out to the open, and then he would ask his Lord, oh Allah, and wallahi, he does not leave his place until we find the cloud coming, pushing the rain, and he'd done it once, twice, 3 times, and more than once. Then when he's about to die, and he knew he's about to die, he said, O Jews, That is, you don't know what had driven me out from the land, the khamr, al-khamir, the land where there is lots of food, to this land where there is famine and there is drought. They said, we don't know what driven you out. He said, because this land of yours, which is Medina, is a land where the Prophet is going to come to. And you are in the time of that Prophet. And this is the land where he's going to migrate to. So I was hoping that when he is to be sent, I will be following him. So this is Ibn Hayyiban is saying that, and that's a true story. And you are at the moment living in his time. So don't be preceded by anybody, Jews, when he comes to go and what? Follow him. So when he comes out, you are the one to first to embrace him and follow him. For verily, he will be sent with even the bloodshed, and he will be sent by capturing and slaverizing those people who oppose him. They don't enter in his religion. That means the person does not enter his religion, and they'll have a fight with him, and he will be the loser. So don't make anybody to intervene between you and embracing Islam. So when the Prophet ﷺ was sent, and the Jews did not embrace Islam, and you remember when they had betrayed in the Battle of the Trench, and Banu Qurayza was discussing with each other. Some of those youth who were present at the time when Ibn Hayyiban died, they remembered those words of Ibn Hayyiban. So they said, "Oh Qurayza, oh tribe of Banu, wallahi, by Allah, he is the Prophet whom Ibn Hayyiban was talking about. Come to terms." They said, "No, he's not." They said, "No, it is him. Wallahi, we know him by his description." They know his description. So these people, they are the people who had said that. They came down from the fortress, from the citadel, and they had embraced Islam, so they secured themselves. And those are the ones who said how they embraced Islam at the beginning. They embraced Islam because they were at the time of Ibn Hayyiban when he died, and he told them, once the Prophet comes out, follow him. So they believed in him, and they were upon the haqq. Right, so we could see here how Allah Azza wa Jal had told the people before the Prophet ﷺ about the coming of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, coming to the story of the cave, so we kind of the story of the cave, that is, we'll discuss it, and we're not going to go further, just this half page.
So here he would spend long periods alone, and it was here that he worshipped not idols, nor imagined gods, but the one true God, Allah. Following the monotheistic practice of his forefather Ibrahim alayhi salam, every year for 3 consecutive years he spent the month of Ramadan in the cave.
This was stayed 3 years or less or more, but he spent much time, a lot of time in the cave. Now,
he would then return to Mecca, circumambulate the Kaaba, and then go back home.
Now,
when Muhammad ﷺ reached 40 years of age, he began to experience what could be called portents of prophethood.
No.
He would have visions, and whatever appeared to him in these visions and dreams would come true.
So the prophethood started with what? True visions. And those true visions stayed for 6 months before he received the revelation from Jibreel alayhi salam. 6 months before he received the revelation. And that is why when the Prophet of Allah talks about the revelation, the vision, he says, "Verily I have left, and nothing left behind me after me departing this dunya, except for the true visions, a mu'min, a believer seeing the vision, and it comes true." This is a glad tidings for the believer. And he said it is a segment out of 46 segments. The reason behind this, he said, it's a segment out of 46 segments of the prophethood, because the vision, which is true vision, is part of the 6 months of the revelation. And the ratio of 6 months to the 23 years of the Prophet ﷺ according to Islam is a ratio of half a year to 23, which is 1/46. That's how we come to a segment of 46 segments of the prophethood. Right. Lessons, huh?
More lessons and morals.
Now,
Number 1, he was a young adult, 14 or 15 at the time of the Battle of Fijar, because he played a very minor role of picking up arrows.
we have talked about it. He was in the 4th, remember? The 4th Fijar. We said that some of some of that is not really to be true, but we know he had witnessed that. Now,
Number 2, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam felt honored to have participated
حلف الفضول.
in the Hilf al-Fudul because it was an alliance based on establishing justice.
And that is true, because حلف الفضول was a just covenant, is to take the rights, the due rights of those people being oppressed from those who are strong and give it back to those who are weak. So alhamdulillah, that sort of covenant, Prophet ﷺ was so proud of it, so even I will not be swapping it for the red camels. Okay? Now,
Number 3, it is necessary for a society to protect people from injustices.
it is true, if you do have injustice in any society, regardless what society it is, non-Muslim or Muslim, then destruction is awaiting them. And very close. Now,
Number 4, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like all other prophets, tended sheep.
that means he heard, and he was a shepherd, he was herding sheep, and all the prophets, they did so.
Being a shepherd helps build qualities like patience, humbleness, responsibility, bravery, mercy, compassion, and the ability to deal with hardships.
And to lead the ummah. Go on, now.
Number 6, good character and righteousness are what people should look for first in a marriage.
What happened?
It's like one.
No space in it? So one word. Now.
Okay.
Number 7.
Number 7, Allah blessed Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam with the ideal wife in Khadija radiallahu anha, who was able to stand by his side with faith and fortitude.
Khadija radiallahu anha, she's the first Muslim after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and before Abu Bakr. Now.
Number 8, the death of the sons of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was a trial, but lets us know that leadership in the religion is not inherited.
Alhamdulillah.
Number 9, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used wisdom in settling the dispute about the black stone,
Which
and
we have
the
discussed now.
result helped to avoid bloodshed.
Now, number
Number 10, Allah gave Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam the honor of settling the dispute and the honor of putting the stone in place.
Number 11.
Number 11, settling the problem of the black stone is an example of how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam settled problems he faced in the best.
He was called the Sadiq al-Amin, Na'am, and the
Number
wise.
12, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was known for his truthfulness and trustworthiness and overall outstanding character, morals and manners.
Now, إنك على خلق عظيم.
Number 13, Allah kept Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam free from any association with paganism and shirk and caused him to hate both all of his life.
Yeah. But this is not true, by the way, that when they say to Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, karram Allahu wajha, and Allah Azza wa Jal had honored his faith, that means he did not prostrate to an idol. We can't really distinguish Abu Bakr from Ali by saying Ali karram Allahu wajha and Abu Bakr not karram Allahu wajha. Do you understand that? That's Shia invention. We should not really go along with that. Now,
The last, number 14, the love of solitude and worship are among the ways that Allah prepared Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for prophethood.
yes, Allah Azza wa Jal looked up to this Prophet to bring him up as a person who's monotheistic from the day that he was born. Right, now we stop here, and inshallah, as I said, 17th of February, we'll be resuming our class. For you to look at the questions and answer them, alhamdulillah. And if you have any questions, please, from what you have heard, or something that is related, but don't go in front. Don't ask about something which we're going to be discussing in the hijrah, because it will take the taste out of it. You will not be able to come then, if we're going to discuss what is going to come ahead. So, but the ones that's past, or something to do with anything that is to do with the religion. Now, is it permissible for the person to enter a synagogue or a church? No problem to enter a synagogue or a church or any place, even a Sikh place, as long as you're intended to make what? Dawah. There's no problem about that. So even a Sikh temple, call it. And we have one scholar talking to the Sikh, and he entered as well. And he was calling them, and he was saying to them, "What do you worship? What is the worship that you're doing? As long as you don't participate in their hums and all of that, no problem, inshallah. And you don't participate in their prayer, and there's no music there to listen to, or you're just going there to tell them about the haqq." Okay. But if you are not knowledgeable person, you're going to be engaged with discussions with them, I would not really urge you to do that. Okay, because you might be vulnerable for doubts, and doubts will hook you. Now, further.
How about to witness a family member graduation, perhaps in the church?
How about, sorry?
To witness a family member graduation, because sometimes.
How about to witness a graduation? Brother, graduation, even without a church, you know, you don't know, they do really things which are opposing the Sharia. I would not really go as far now witnessing in the church and going clubbing in the church. Okay, you're not allowed to pray in the church, you know, yourself, you're not praying. This is Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, As-salatu fil bi'a. As long as they don't have any pictures to take you know, no statues, which is almost impossible. Okay, it's better than praying in the market, you know, where the people can have this, you know, lots of noise and everything, disturbance outside in the market, you know, so you have a church, you offer the prayer. There's no place to offer the prayer. There's no problem. But we're not going to go and discuss. I mean, you know, go having a funeral and having a wedding and having graduation and having this is a long list. All right, a long list. We should avoid, you know, not just in each, avoid all these places that would, you know, cast upon us a wrong assumption, isn't it? Imagine that seeing you going to the church. Imagine me seeing you go to the church. I have to hide myself when I go to the church. Because maybe I want to discuss with a person, but what people are going to think. I can't tarnish my image as well as a person who's delivering da'wah. Do you understand that? So be careful. Now, why the Kaaba is not a circle, it's a cube. When you person say, why is it not trapezium? Why is it not hexagon? Why is it not?
That's not the question. You know, the unbuilt part of it is a wall, which is a circle.
Yeah, but this is the same question. I'm just saying. They say, why is it semicircle? Why is it? I mean, what is the benefit from that? Ask the question. No benefit. Always ask a question that's got a benefit. I don't know. Why is it a circle? It's not being done like this. Allah, Quraysh built it like this. I don't think, unless I'm going to go and ask. And Walid ibn Umayyah, as they said. So always, you know, we don't know this. You know, remember those questions? It's all the brothers. Always ask a question you think there's a benefit from it. And you remember that the history of these things, and they don't go into details of can be checked. No, you can't check these things. Wallahu ta'ala. Now. Now, I mentioned four, Zayd, and I mentioned Waraqa, and I mentioned Bahir al-Rahib, and I mentioned Abu Dhar. Now, right? Anybody would like to ask? It doesn't matter now. I open the question. Anything but the seerah now. Don't ask me in the seerah ahead. Now. Yes, I'm just saying, in seerah ahead, no, not allowed. I said that, even to visit. Well, what is that visit to look? First of all, are we 100% that cave is the cave of Hira? Do you understand that? Is it the same shape as it was of the Prophet ﷺ? What's so historical about going to there? I'll tell you what, would you be taking upon your shoulder the burden of going, climbing, and maybe stays backing you to go to a spot if it's nothing to do with the cave of Hira? Would you be doing that? Why did you do that? Because the cave of Hira. And that's why it says that it will hook to yourself. It's like you are religious. And some of the people who are Ahlul Bidah, I've seen them even crying. One person whom I know, he stayed for 40 nights there. And he was telling the brothers, I stayed for 40 nights there. I don't know anymore. That's how it is. He's staying for 40 nights. Because he wants to, relive what the Prophet was. So he should have stayed there for 3 years, according to the Sirah bin Sa'ad. He stayed for 3 years. He should stay there for 3 years. No. No problem. Open.
Back home.
Back home where?
In India.
No. Back home in India, they're out of space
In the cemetery.
in the cemetery to bury Muslims. Now,
Because every time they dig a fresh grave, they're finding the remains.
every time every time they dig the grave, they find somebody there already in the cemetery.
In that same spot.
Yes.
They've got no land, so what they want to do is
Move the bones.
move the bones, but what they've done is put 7 feet of soil on top of. what-
So it's like another floor of
Yeah.
burial. How can you visit them? That those can climb or? I could see what you're saying. It's a good question, actually. I've never heard this question before. It's a very good question. Right. Let's answer this question. You say that we are in India running out of land. They're not running out. They've got plenty of land. But they rather go and build a profitable business rather than to locate something which is it's dead. People aren't going to pay us money, are they? It's nice, a lost business basically. You're going to lose the land, and the government is not willing to give that because you see they want you to be like the Hindus, burn them, and that's it. No land. So the Hindus, imagine the Hindus they bury. Oh my, they'll have no land for the Muslims. True or not? Already they're not giving land for the Muslims, and the Hindus are the majority. They burn their people, so they just burn them and put them in the river, burn them and put them in the Ganges. So we say to that issue that we have to investigate how can we build another cemetery. As for digging the cemetery, if the land of India, which I think it is tropical near to the equator, then after 7 or 10 years, it's in Saudi Arabia, they redig and there's nothing there. Okay? So after 10 years, everything is being dissolved. There's no problem. So if you dig that there is no bones. If there's bones, it's not allowed. Okay? But to put sand on top of that means you're going to walk onto that grave. And that's not allowed. Walking, sitting, eating, anything on the grave is not allowed. So you're putting another grave, you're putting a grave on top of it, and you yourself on top of it. So we're not really going to go to that sort of extreme. Is that real? SubhanAllah. Anybody from question on the side?
Sisters.
From the sisters, Father?
Do women have to take out their plates when making ghusl after the plates? I think
the plates, plated hair. The braids is what they call it. Okay. If this ghusl al-janaba, they don't have to undo their hair. They could leave it. But if it's ghusl al-hayd, that means their menstruation is finished, they have to undo it. Alright? So ghusl al-janaba is narrated in Sahih Imam Muslim, even for ghusl al-janaba. That word for ghusl al-janaba is unauthentic. Okay? Even in Sahih Imam Muslim. As our Shaykh al-Albani indicated, that is shadha. The Sahih is only for the haydah. That means if she finishes her menstruation, then she has to undo her hair. But if it is just for the ghusl al-janaba, sexual defilement, approaching the husband, wet dream, all of that, apart from the menses, then she doesn't have to undo it. Allah Ta'ala. There's a question here, just reminded me of brothers asking me regarding the issue of the gold, the silver, and all of that. I remembered. So, and even I had a question which has been asked a number of times about the kuhl. Eyeliner, we call it? Kuhl. Eyeliner? Is that called eyeliner, yeah? Right. First of all, it's an important question regarding the jewelry. The jewelry, we said that it is not allowed for the men to have gold in any form. But it's allowed for them to have, apart from the gold, silver or anything else, but they're not allowed to have a ring even from steel. Now there's a hadith which the brothers they know, some of you don't know, that when a woman came to offer herself for the Prophet to marry her, Messenger of Allah looked at her and then he put his head down. Didn't say yes or no. Then she did it twice, thrice, 3 times. And then a man from the companions said, Messenger of Allah, if you don't want her, offer it to me. I want to marry her. So the Prophet so that woman she offered for herself, not just for the Prophet, even to the Prophet to do whatever he likes, even to offer her to marry her to somebody else. So he said to him, okay, go on, what do you have to have a dowry? He said, nothing, Messenger of Allah. He said, go and get even as little as a ring made of steel. That's the narration of the thing, ring of steel, you see. Well, the ring of the steel, this is not to, it's not being narrated for the sake of showing the permissibility. That's number one. Number two, it could have been permissible, but later on it being made what? Prohibited. Number three, the ring itself, it could be sold. You don't have to put it on. You could have, like when Umar al-Khattab, he had been given, the brocaded garment or cloak, which is made of silk. And the Prophet said, when he was asked to have it, he said, this is the clothes of those people who do have no portion in the hereafter. When he sent it to Umar was scared. He sending it to me, Messenger of Allah, means I have no portion in the hereafter? He said, no, not to put it on, but to sell it, to give benefit of it. Or to give it as a gift to the people who are allowed to put it on. Who are the people allowed to do it? Women and non-Muslims. So he gave it to his brother, a non-Muslim idolater, as a gift. Okay? It's not allowed for you Muslims to put it on. So we're saying the same thing here. This steel ring, you could put it to give it to a non-Muslim as a gift. It's no problem. But you as a man or a woman is not allowed to put it on. So that hadith cannot be used to oppose the clear-cut hadith, which is he who wants to make a circle of fire around his lover, let him bring him a khatam, that is a ring of steel. So this is the jewelry of the hellfire. But some of the scholars, or some of the student knowledge, understood that this is to be explored, and as well to include the necklaces or to include the bracelets. The correct opinion is only for the ring. So for the bracelet, for the other ones, we stay with just the gold. Is not allowed for the men, but it is allowed for the women to have the steel, to have the plastic, to have everything, but the ring cannot be steel. Coming back, as for the women as well, our Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah goes to the opinion that even the gold is allowed, but not all the types of gold. Gold as a ring is not allowed. Gold as a bracelet is not allowed. Gold as a necklace is not allowed. What is allowed in the gold? All of that will not encircle your limb. So, for example, something which is for the earrings, or the studs, or the ones which is on the nose, like some other countries, it's a fashion for them. They recognize it as no problem. But not for those who don't recognize it as a fashion, it's not allowed. For the country, there's rituals. Also, for example, what do you call that? Like a piece of, a piece of gold which is hanging from a necklace. What is that? A medal. Medallion. It's like a medallion. It's made of gold. As long as the chain itself is not gold. You don't mind if it's half silver, half gold. There's no problem. You can't all of it to be gold. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's, for example, gold which is 12 carats. Because 12 carats is not gold. 9 carats is not gold. It's plated with gold, but most of it is what? Metal. Allahu Ta'ala. As for the eyeliner, we say it is more of a treatment rather than it is to be for a beauty. More of a treatment than a beauty. As for the woman, she is not allowed to put the eyeliner, if she's a woman, for example, showing her face or showing her eyes, she's not allowed to put the eyeliner for, dragging the attention of the men, but she could allow to put it on for the sake of seeing the women of hers. So even if she's out, she's got eyeliner, there's no problem. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. So the eyeliner is from the zina al-zahira, which is allowed to be shown. And for the man, Prophet ﷺ, yes, he used to make the kuhl with the ithmid, but this is for not the beauty. A man can't beautify himself, especially these days, worrying. Right, so he can't beautify himself with the eyeliner, but he could put it for as what? The sake of what? Treatment, no problem. The same thing with the women, she could put it for the sake of beauty for the girls, or for her husband. We find the women, subhanAllah, she put all types of beauty when she comes out. When her husband comes in, she does not put anything. It's supposed to be the other way around. The husband's supposed to have all the beauty. She should beautify herself for her husband, not for the sake of the outside men or for the girls and the ladies of her, friends. Now, Fadal.
Is there any age for ear piercing for girls?
Age of puberty?
Not ear piercing.
Ear piercing?
Piercing the ear.
Yeah. No problem. No problem.
Any,
We find that.
any recommended age? Any preferred age?
There's no age. I mean, with the share. I mean, with the person when they're really young, would they block later on? Yeah. Make sure that the earring is. If it's not cannot be pierced, it can just be put like this without piercing. Would be better. But if you pierce, don't make a a hole like for a can of Coke. Can of Coke. Now I've seen a person pierce his ear with a can of Coke. This is my God here. All his ear gone like this, big. And a can of Coke is there. I mean, that type of piercing, no, that's not piercing, that's A'udhu Billah. No. Right, sister, questions, please.
Do you need to pray the 2 rak'ah for the masjid before the obligatory prayer which you intend to pray alone?
Again, that's the question, please.
Do you need to pray the 2 rak'ah for the masjid before the obligatory prayer?
If you have done the obligatory prayer, you don't need to do the 2 rak'ah. But always include your Tahiyyat al-Masjid in any prayer as an intention with it. So you need to pray any type of prayer before you sit down. That's what is required. Now, does that answer the question?
It says, which you intend to pray alone.
I'm just saying that you don't have to pray 2 rak'ah on its own. It's better to do that, but you could sit down as long as you have offered a prayer. So if you pray your Maghrib or Isha, it's okay, you shall to sit down. You don't have to pray 2 rak'ah after Tahiyyat al-Masjid. But if you had time before the obligatory, then you designate 2 rak'ah for the Tahiyyat al-Masjid would be a lot better. Now, let's have a question for the brother.
Is it permissible for a Muslim man to invest in gold to buy and sell?
Is it permissible for the person to invest in gold? Our Shaykh al-Albani says no. Reason behind this, you are swapping gold with notes, with papers that have no value according to but just the convention of the people. You're not trading gold with gold, are you? Trading gold with money. Because of that, there will be riba. And then that banknote is, unrespected, I would say unstable. Okay? So you should not really invest in buying or selling gold. You could, for the sake of protecting your money, but not investing. So for example, you're buying the gold, and you're not selling it unless that because you think that your currency, which is you live in a country, that your currency, any moment, if they check the president, it's going to fall from such and such to such and such. So you're protecting your money, not for the sake of what? Transactions, not for the sake of business. You doing that? No problem, inshallah. Now,
But on the note of gold, just to clarify, so it's haram to wear it for the women, the bracelet and the chain, but is it haram for them to possess it? Can they possess it?
no problem to possess the gold, even which is the gold like the bracelets. No problem at all. Problem is to put it on. Because they could sell it, they could buy it. But what is the point of a girl just having bracelets that she's going to put it on? I don't understand that. Oh, she's already possessed it. You said it. You see, the hurma, which is the prohibition, is only in putting it on, is not in selling or buying it. Alright? We said that it is the haram is linked to certain issue. Do you understand that? So there is, for example, it is prohibited to eat the carrion, the carrion dead animal, which is not slaughtered by Zakwa. It is prohibited, when it's prohibited to eat it, then it's prohibited to buy and sell. But is it prohibited, for example, to make it as land fertilization? I'm asking. To use that, to put it in the land, to fertilize, because they fertilize the land, it's meat. Is it prohibited? No, it is not. As long as I don't buy it, as long as I don't sell it. I saw an animal and I put it in my land. No problem. So what is the prohibition? Is in eating it. Prohibition is in buying it and selling it, but not al-intifa' biha, that is to get benefit out of it. Is that okay? It solves your problem. Now.
Is it from the sunnah to join another brother in a voluntary prayer, so it's in jama'ah?
Is it no problem? I'm not going to say so. Is it no problem that if I saw somebody who's got a sunnah, I want to join in him in the sunnah? Is no problem as it's not really pre-planned. Someone's pre-planned. So if you're, for example, your wife, one of you had woke up for the the Qiyam al-Layl or his witr, and his wife joined in, is no problem about that. But to start a voluntary prayer like this from the beginning, and it's like this, it should not be done on a regular basis. Now,
The people who are investing money in the share market, is that investment not around?
share markets is a share market, and a market is a market. It's got halal and haram. If a person who is participating in shares and stocks and all of that, which is to do with halal, then it is halal. And the shares are the shares, not the ones you buy them in 2 minutes and you sell them in the next 5 minutes. You understand that? Those shares which are really, you don't even see the shares. You're just on the computer. Bought, sold. And you hold them for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, half an hour. That's gambling. Why is gambling? Because the share market goes down too much. That's gambling. But the share market, like you invest, for example, BT, they sold their shares a long time ago. Okay, when they were privatized. No problem, because of the long-term shares, no problem. Long-term, mid-term shares is no problem. It's the one which is what? The quick share, the second one. This is gambling. Plus, on top of that, you need to know which company you're investing in. Investing in banks, haram. In insurance companies, haram. In anything to go clubs and all of that, haram. So you invest, there's green, the green thing called green. Friendly. And there is now Sharia. I've seen it in Sharia. Sharia investments. Alhamdulillah. For those who used to receive, the money for their children, which is the, what do you call it? Trust fund, yeah. The booster for them, They stopped it now, of course, I think. Yeah. £250. So that £250, now you've got an option to invest in what? There's a Sharia now. There's one called mutual trust. They've got Sharia branch. So you can invest that in, no problem, inshallah. And remember, the share goes up and down, doesn't it? Yeah, no problems. They say that the gold which is less than 18 carats is more of a metal than a gold. Wallahu ta'ala. Naam. No question. Naam. Yeah, it is halal. Yeah, it's being given to the person. Where are you going to put it in the bin? God has given it to you. Halal. Now.
Come back to the church in Senegal. We see these days sometimes there is a gathering inside and they bring some Muslim to read Quran or to make adhan inside.
Why is that? In the synagogue?
It's the church is Muslim.
No, the synagogue, he said.
Yeah,
Church. Synagogue Jews bringing you? No way. They don't bring you whatsoever. The Christians, they are known to be much softer than the people of the book. And Allah has described in the book as well, they're closer to the Imam. And when they hear the verses of the Quran and they're true, they will, adhere to it. But if this has been done, especially those hardcore Christians, or being pre-planned, is like missionary, if you understand. And they're really doing this for the bait, is a bait.
They do it sometimes for say like a Taqar al-Madiyah.
The Taqar al-Madiyah, I've seen worse than that. I told you about the priest giving a khutbah al-Jum'ah. Have I told you about that? No? Listen to that to me. It's in our area. Next door masjid. I couldn't believe it until somebody brought me a picture and the audio of this priest, video, is giving a khutbah al-Jum'ah in the masjid. And next to him is the imam. And there's a commentary from those people, or brainwaves, saying, wow, this is what's supposed to be. This is the integration. That's the Muslim writing that down. Now, on the condition that Muslim sheikh is going to give a khutbah, I don't know, it's a Jumu'ah, Sunday khutbah in the church. Now, we know those people who are from the church, they're hardcore, they're people that are not really willing to have any sort of approach or reproach between us, but it's actually something else. In Universal Sunday, there's nobody there to listen. The church is empty, very empty. So I don't think that we should really do that. That's a compromise. Somebody in this church give us a khutbah. How can we do that? I mean, we don't really allow the innovators from the Muslims to allow somebody who's non-Muslim to give us a khutbah. Okay. That's not right. But if the person who is in the church, he came to address us means the knowledgeable, the scholars, or the ones who really, and then he came You can come on the table, sit, bring you things, and debate within discussion. But on the public, that's not right. And look at these people, the commentaries in, this is the way forward. What? This is the way forward? What's going to happen now later on? Allahu musta'an, wa alayhi tuklan, wa subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.